Hey everyone, it's Wilco again. We've got another video coming at you, and it's all about The Division 2. Some of you might know I do a podcast called Locked On, a Tom Clancy podcast, where we deal with a lot of Tom Clancy game content. One of them is obviously The Division, a game I've spent a lot of hours playing in my lifetime, and very excited about the sequel coming up very, very soon. I've undone about actually putting this video out. We'll see if it actually makes it out, because we are so close. We are very close. We're like 36 hours away from finding out exactly what the Division 2 is. There's already been some spoilers drop. I will touch on them briefly in this video, so be careful of that. I will warn you before we go into it. It just deals with the location and a few of the weapons. But it all seems legit, and I'm pretty excited about it, and it's stuff that we've been pretty much talking about anyway on the podcast in particular, in our predictions going forward. So here we go. I've got about 11, 12 things here that I want to see in the Division 2. So we won't get all the information, obviously, when it launches, or when they reveal it in a couple of days' time. So they will hold some stuff back to let us know between now and launch. So some of this stuff will be still relevant, and we'll still have to wait and see. But I assume the game's pretty much finished, so a lot of this stuff might even be, if it's not in here, we'll get it down the track in further content. But let's start with number one of my list of things that I want to see in the Division 2. So I want them to embrace the RPG side of it. It's one of those things. I want skill trees. I want huge skill trees. I want all that kind of stuff. I want not gear sets, but I want gear. Lots and lots of different varieties of gear. So I want all the different abilities, all the different perks on your weapons. Instead of having, let's say, I want to increase it by a factor of 10 or more. So I want there to be a real decision to be made when a weapon or a bit of gear drops. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know the optimal thing. I want there to be that many options that, hey, there's probably about 15, 20 options there that could viably work. I think that's the way to get around. Having a stale meta is primarily comes from not having enough options, and then obviously there's only one or two that sticks out in about 13, where if you have 150 options, by geez, it's hard to have just one or two stand out. But we'll see. I want to actually make it feel more like an RPG than just a looter shooter / third person thing that currently is. So that would be my first start. Number two, I know they do take a lot of stuff from Diablo 3. So that whole looting side of it, they've got the global events, which a lot of that stuff did come from the idea of Diablo 3 having a certain idea for a certain period of time to get people active. I wanted to go one step further. I wanted to really take it on and do a full season mode. So where Diablo 3 has a sort of a month and a half, 2 months, or whatever it is of this is season 1, you need to go back and start with a new character at the beginning and play through the whole storyline again, and then go on to endgame content again. And they have leaderboards on how many points you get. Now you can either do it straight up by the story, or you can just do random things that happen in the world, just going around doing random events and stuff like that. Either way, you will level up to whatever the cap is. So in Division 1 it was 30, and then you would get onto your high-end gear after that. With that, then they could bring in a hardcore mode where you do, if your character dies, that's the end of your character, and have that as a higher point tier as they do in Diablo 3. I love this in Diablo 3. It's the only reason I will play Diablo 3. I would love to see something like this, just purely because they spent so much time making the story content, and I do want to go back and play through it again, but there's no reason in the Division 1. There's not even that strong a reason to have a second and a third and a fourth character in the Division 1. So if they gave you a reason to go back and play through that storyline they've put so much effort into actually putting into the game every 2 or 3 months, why not? Why not let people enjoy that content that you've spent so much time making? But that's one of my wish lists. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love to see it at some stage down the track. The third thing is I want to see a persistent world. Now, Division 1, we're still set in that Christmas period. It's always snowing. We're into January or something along those lines. Time has stood still for so long. I want to see seasons, as in I want to see the snow melt if we're in a place that's snowy. I want to see, leaves fall from trees. I want to see them pull the Christmas decorations down and start to move on as we play through the game and as time goes on. I want to see things come into the world that make it look differently. I want to see, why not? Halloween comes around. There is some small little shop fronts that are, we're going to fight back. We're going to push on as if nothing is going on. We're going to keep hope up, and they start putting out little decorations and things like that. Just embrace the whole persistent world that rather than just keeping us stuck in the one thing. I assume it was probably a limitation of what they were working with back in the day. The other thing, obviously, that is hard to do with story-driven stuff, because you are finishing a story, and that's where the game sort of ends, and then there's end game. But they can make it written into the story that, hey, look, you've just beaten the big baddie. Now it's time to sort of. There's always going to be people fighting back against you. There's still going to be whatever the factions are that are trying to fight back bits and pieces. There's still people who need help in this world. So we're now going on to try and rebuild and squash those last few insurgents and things like that. So that's what I mean by a persistent world. That's what I would love to see. I just get frustrated every time I see the tyre tracks in the snow from the car that's been sitting there for 3 years. And it's snowing and a blizzard's just flown through. So it's just, yeah, it's one of my little gripes that I've had with the Division 1. But I'd love to see that changed in the Division 2. In the next point, I want to see more than 4-player content. I understand you keep your squads to 4 players, but I want to see content that requires you and another squad to team up, or maybe even 4 squads to team up. I want to see what I got excited about with the Division 1 was the idea of fortified locations where you had to go in and take them on, and we saw that in some of the missions towards the end, but still it was 4-player content. You could get through it with 4 people. If they made this 16 people content or 8 people content, look, you will get people going through it in, 1s and 2s and finishing it eventually. But give us a reason as we play through the game to play with other people outside of our comfort zone. Or the problem we've got now is a lot of our communities are growing so much that playing with 4 is actually limiting who we can play with. That's the biggest problem. We've always got 5, 6 or 7 people wanting to play the game, and then we're split up. So let us play together on end game content, or let us roam the world. Let us just roam the world. Have it as if there's other people in this world. I want to see other agents walking around as I'm going around whatever the city is that we're playing in. I do really want to see more life from other agents in the game. I want to not feel so alone or so just the handful. Like it's amazing when you're in the Boo or somewhere like that, and you see so many other agents walking around, being busy, or just having fun, doing emotes, whatever it is. That kind of interaction is cool, and we get this in so many other games where, need I say, Destiny, where you get to see other Guardians going around in the world. I want to see that in the Division, I really do. And I want to work together with people. I wanted to squad up in squads. We had this in the Division 1. You could see before launch where someone data mined the UI settings in the PC, where they actually had UI settings for 3 other squads on the UI, but obviously got pulled before launch. So that's why I'm super confident that it might be in this one, because it was there, and I just assume it probably got pulled out at the last minute because it wasn't going to work. So hopefully we get this in the Division 2. One of the quickest ways to get gear in the Division is doing a boss run, where at launch, once you killed a boss, it vanished for good, and then they brought that back that you can actually do boss runs, which is cool. But I want to see proper roaming bosses around the world. So I'd always loved the Guild Wars series where there's a dragon, he spawns there at a certain time, between a certain time and another certain time. People congregate to that area to try and take it down together. Now this leads back into what I was just talking about with the multiple squad content. So I want to see you going around, I want to be running around the world, and all of a sudden JTF start running towards you, and oh my god, there is an armored vehicle coming towards us, and this is a very heavy fortified boss that just randomly goes around the world. Maybe it's on a spawn timer, maybe not. It drops some good loot, and it is a bitch to take down, to be honest. I want to be in the world and be fearful of what's going on. I don't want to just be the problem with the Division 1, once you clear the world, it's sort of, there's red bar enemies everywhere. Why do they have to be red bar enemies? Lift them up. Put a lot more elites, put a lot more purples out there, things like that. Make the world always a challenge to go around. They've got fast travel in there. If you don't want to do that, you can get around that, no problems at all. But I want to run around the streets, and I want to be challenged. I don't want to just be, just run here, run there. Like, the roaming world bosses would be the biggest step forward in that, and it would give me a reason to continue going around in the world, because that was one of the things we lost in the Division 1 early on. That need to walk around this, or run around this beautiful city of New York that they had made for so many years, spent so many years making. And then it just became irrelevant. I know now they've got the boss runs back in there again, and the HVTs sort of use the world, but it's just one of those things. I'd prefer to see a living, breathing world that's always challenging you, no matter how high the content is. And this is where their world tier levels... World tier level 5 should have yellow bars and purple bars. There should not be a thing about red bars anywhere in the map. It should be the hardest people walking around this world. If you don't want to do it, fast travel, like I said. But that would be great. Okay, so the last couple are some pretty important ones. The big thing that's always troubled me in the Division is when you're out in that world that we've just talked about so much, it does feel empty. Like there's JTF walking around. There's civilians always trying to get sodas and chocolate bars and stuff like that off you. There's these enemies that you can kill in one shot with a sticky bomb quite easily. Other than that, there's random stuff floating around. There's no NPCs in the world. I want to see NPCs out there. So I want, go 3-4 blocks down from the base, and then there's a NPC there, or he patrols a certain area. You go to him, you talk to him. He says, "Oh, dude, I need, electronics. We've got this issue. Can you go get it for me?" And off you go. You can be walking down. Oh, hold on. There's LMB or whatever the new faction is that's got a fortified location down there. Can you guys go help out with that? And just have this world feel alive. That's what I really want to see. NPCs in the world, making it feel alive. That is quest givers, information givers. Just give us a chat. I don't care. That's the stuff that I want to see in the Division 2. More than anything else, make this world feel alive. Okay, so the last two, I really do want... It's the second last one. I really want to see our choices matter. I'm getting really excited for Anthem. I know Anthem's going to be a really big thing in my life, and it's because BioWare knows how to make choices really matter. I want the Division to do that too. I want storyline choices. I want there to be a point where, let's say, the Dark Knight style, Batman Dark Knight style, where you have this person or this person to save. You cannot possibly save both of them. You need to decide where to go to save them. If you decide not to save, like if you take too long or you don't succeed, you lose both of them. I want that kind of decision making. I want things to actually matter in the world. I know it's hard because it's a shared universe that your world will look completely different to someone else's, and it sort of breaks immersion and all that kind of stuff. But look, Anthem's just come out saying that they've worked a way around it. I'm sure there's better minds than me working on the Division 2, and someone there could work this out. But I want choices. I want characters to mean something. I want a loss of a character to mean something, and I want that loss to be mine. I want to own that responsibility of I could have saved that person, but they're no longer in the Division 2 because of the decision I made, or I saved that person. That person is only here because I decided to save that person. I want that kind of stuff in the Division 2. I'm not hopeful on that point, but I would love to see it. So the last one is, I want to see them go crazy. I know the Division is a Tom Clancy game and it's rooted in some kind of reality. I want them to just embrace a little bit of craziness that they've gone and done with Ghost Recon Wildlands, where the Predator is now in there as a mission. Sam Fisher crossed over into the Ghost Recon world. Rainbow Six Siege now has had the Outbreak mode where it was a single player and it was basically zombies but not zombies. I want that kind of stuff in the Division 2. Stuff that's borderline crazy, borderline not quite reality, but you can base it in some kind of reality. Some weird stuff that's happening. Maybe a creature mutated because of this virus, and there's some weird roaming, whatever city we're in. Maybe the zoo got some creatures that got contaminated, and now they're beefed up and scary looking, and they're another thing that we can try and take down. That kind of stuff, when they do it, really pays off, because it's not something you're used to, and I love it when they branch out and do that kind of stuff. So there's a couple things that I'll touch on quickly before we end up this video. I believe the release date fairly heavily will be March, probably 5th. We'll see how true that is. There you go. I've put the money down. We'll go with that. I know there's a few people out there that want it sooner. I just don't see it being ready, and I know they love this March period for releasing Tom Clancy games. So you've got Assassin's Creed is definitely confirmed for. Oh, actually, it's not even definitely confirmed, but it will be at E3, and it's probably their one that's going to be coming out in November. That leaves them either September or March. I don't think it's going to be September. That's going head to head with Destiny 2's big expansion. That's going head to head with everything that wants to get out of the way of Red Dead Redemption 2 that is early. But the problem they have is if they go March, they are going up against Anthem will already be released. We just heard Kingdom Hearts 3 will already be released, although it's not quite the same world, but it's still a game that's going to take a lot of hours away from people. You've got Days Gone coming out in that period, and you've got probably a handful of other games that are trying to get out of the way of Red Dead Redemption 2. So it's a hard time of year to launch either way, whichever one they decide, but that's where my money is. I haven't touched on the location of the place because there is a leak that's happened just recently. I'm glad I saw it because I'm just so anticipating this release. I want to catch everything before it goes, but I'm not going to go into it for the simple fact that if you don't want to know spoilers, then that's fine. I don't want to spoil it for you. That's why I'm not predicting where it's going to be. So, look, I'm pretty happy with wherever they do it, whatever they do. The only thing I didn't want was them to stay in New York and just rehash that map and extend it a little bit. That wouldn't have made sense on why they put a 2 on the end of it. But whatever they decide to do, look, I'm fairly happy. Just give me more Division, and that's all I wanted. I would have loved to have seen the Division as an ongoing thing like Rainbow Six Siege is, but obviously there's some decisions that were made early on that they're trying to get around and fix, and putting a 2 on the end of it is another big chance to launch. I just hope they do it right. I hope there's enough content for us to grind through. I hope there's enough of a challenge at the end, and I hope there's enough of a variety to make it so the meta doesn't get stale. That's the big things. I do want to see all the game modes come back, plus new ones. I know that's greedy, but honestly, that's what I expect from a number 2, from a sequel. I want them to iterate and make better than the previous, not just go, we've got a new location. We'll get there soon. Just bear with us. Just enjoy it. I want a new, fresh, better experience than what we just got. So we'll wait and see. Not many hours away. By the time you've seen this video, it's probably happened. But hey, if you like the video, chuck a like down, subscribe. We've got lots more content coming for Wilco's Chill Zone over the coming months. There'll be a lot of Division 2 content. As soon as that trailer comes and the announcement comes, I will dissect that trailer as much and all the announcements as much as I can and bring all the information to you when it comes to hand. So I'm going hard on the Division 2 and Anthem on this channel. Along with a few other games and reviews and impressions. I'm getting back right into that. So it's just easy for me to do video content these days than sitting down and writing. But look, that's been a video. It's been a long video. It may not get out by the time that this is revealed because it's a long one. But I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, go see my Twitch channel. It's Wilco's Chill Zone. We're trying to get to 200 followers at the moment. We're also on my Twitter. Hit that up at Wilco's Chill Zone. So like I said, comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me if it's already happened, what you expected, or what you are still waiting to be announced. Tell us what you liked about the Division 1. That's all that kind of stuff. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. But until next video, it's been a good pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.